Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. Audio, we use CTAC Repeater Association's WW7ATS Cougar Mountain Repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll find the frequencies we operate on, a little bit of history of our club, and also on the front page you'll find a link that will take you to YouTube where we stream our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So with that, I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or wants to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Again, this is Dave, KD7ZYM. Hearing none, again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. And this, again, is Dave, KD7ZYM. Checked in by video link already on the net is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there anybody else who would like to check into the net this evening? Hearing none, we have a small group tonight, but I'm sure it will go fast. So let's start it off with Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you, Dave. Hello to everyone. KD7QKU here. Ron from Tacoma. So my son just flew home. He went down to Arizona and visited his brother at Quartzsite, and then he flew on down to Texas to visit his son, they sold their home in Auburn and they moved down there. So he had a nice visit with them. Said there's stores that are pretty close but not real close. But he had kind of a sad story. On the way home there, about halfway home, and he said whoever was sitting behind him started making a bunch of noise and kind of banging on the seat. And he said it went on for a minute or so, but he said for some reason I wasn't annoyed. I just thought it was really unusual. So I stood up and looked, and he said it was the guy behind him. He said he was in bad shape. So he yelled, "Medical emergency, we need help here." And so there was a couple of people on the plane, maybe they were nurses, maybe a doctor, and then the stewardess, they all ran there, they got oxygen, and they worked on the guy, but Mike thinks he died. He said they were an hour out from the airport. The pilot came on and said, "Everybody sit down in your seats and fasten your seatbelt. I'm going to get to Seattle as fast as I can." And he said they cleared the runway, and he said it was about an hour. The ambulance met him, and they came on board, loaded him up and take him off, but he said he looked dead to me. He said, I don't know what happened to the guy, but he said, I think he died. So he said he was about 30 years old. I said, "Do you think it was a drug overdose?" And he said, "No, he didn't look like that type of person." He said maybe he was a spy and they poisoned him, but he said he kind of made noise, gurgled, and kind of jerked around. But he said, man, he was a goner, I think. So anyway, with those cheerful notes, I'll turn it back to Dave, Net Control, KD7QKU.
KU, Ron, thanks for that. And the net acknowledges Jessica, KF7UHK, is checked in, and Lee, N7KC, has joined the net. So So let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
UHK, Jessica up here in Everett, where we had a beautiful day today. We went down and had breakfast down here at a place called Madison Bar and Grill, I think it was. It was, can you hear me? It was really tasty. I had like French toast and 3 eggs. I think they gave me about 8 pieces of really crisp bacon. It was a big meal. It was really tasty. So, and I got Sylvia over here doing taxes. You know what that means? If she's unhappy, I'm unhappy. Just because I don't like doing taxes, and so I try to help her out as much as I can by staying back and looking for what she needs and make sure she has bright lights on her. And it's always a challenge because we have a lot of stuff to do our taxes, a lot of intricate little things with my extra jobs and stuff like that. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to KF7 UHK.
KF7UHK. Let's go to Port Angeles to Lee in 7KC.
Okay, Lee in Port Angeles, N7KC. How am I doing? Okay, it's always a surprise. Well, good evening, you guys. Nice to see you. Yes, Ron, that was quite an inspiring introduction here. Well, things happen, you know. You gave a good description of the guy's last words. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful day in Port Angeles. It started out, we had total blue over here. Then around noon, it clouded over pretty good. And then I think it's cleared up again tonight. We're about 40 degrees right now. We've been very dry. We don't even have 2 inches of rain here yet this year. We should have around 7 already. January only had 1.35, and we've added about 0.6 to that. So we're just at the 2-inch mark, and so it's definitely quite dry here already. Now that's a little bit worrisome, you know, very worrisome in fact. Hard on the trees. Well, what to say? I do have something I thought was kind of interesting. Take a look at this. This is the barometer here, but this is the area of interest right here. This is real. This is no funny little artifact. I watched this happen. This is 6 p.m., this is 9. So it took about a third of an hour, okay, about 20 minutes. And it dove down like this and then reversed itself and came back up. And look how steep that is. In my own opinion, I believe that the eye of the low pressure went right over us. Because if we had been away from the eye, then it gives you the gradual as you follow the isobars. It gives you the gradual thing. But if you get a steep thing like this, it means that it was a well-defined low that went right over you. You know, that's the way I read it. Maybe somebody's got some ideas on that. But pretty interesting tracing, I thought. Gosh, otherwise, this morning was the local club's breakfast here. Oh, I'm out of time, but I'll tell you really quick. So I went breakfast this morning to join the local club, and I was the only one. Go figure. Anyway, I was the only one. And I was in the right place, too. Anyway, back to you, Dave, in 7KC, Lee in Port Angeles.
Connected, N7KC.
7KC, thanks for that. Well, let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Okay, you guys. As you can see, I'm just using my plain green background tonight. I mentioned it last time. I think it's just too many little settings to do when I'm switching you guys in as well, to switch back and forth to try and get the background on my green screen. So maybe I may come up with something next time, but for now, this is what we get. Well, yeah, it's good to see everybody on the net tonight, and I did want to acknowledge Richard. He's checked in via Zoom, but won't be participating tonight, as far as I know. So just wanted to acknowledge him and say howdy out there if you're hearing us, Richard. I guess that's not a lot going on here. We had a little bit of sunshine today. It was a surprise. Came out of nowhere. I was not expecting it, so that's always nice. But yeah, I've been following the dry conditions. We've started to get rain, but January was extremely dry, and we've got some catching up to do. So not sure about December. I don't remember exactly how dry it was, but January was much drier than normal. There's hopefully we'll get our usual spring rain and get caught up. Okay, back to net. K9PQ.
PQ, thanks for that, Bob. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's move on down the list to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, let's see here. Dick, yeah, if you're listening, hang in there, guy. We're thinking about you. Ron, so your son sold his house in Auburn. Didn't you move to Tacoma in part to be closer to him? I don't know. Sorry, guy. I have to say I know several people to whom that happened. No? Well, okay. But I know several people to whom that did actually happen. Crazy. You reach a certain age, you got to go to work, and then you got to go where the work takes you, whether you like it or not. I don't know. Dead guy on an airplane. Man, I spent so much time on airplanes, I'm kind of surprised I am not one of those dead guys. I don't know. I can't say that I really ever had that experience. I did have a number of medical emergencies. One very significant thing, I left, I believe it was Manila, and somewhere over the water, this one fellow decides that he just isn't feeling well, and he didn't look at all well either. Customs thought that maybe what happened is he swallowed several condoms filled with some sort of drugs. So we landed, and he was still alive and kicking when he got off the airplane, but I don't know what happened after that. Otherwise, I don't have any deaths to report that I know of. Reset. Let's see. Lee, did you enjoy your breakfast? I sure hope so. And let's see. I know that you haven't got a lot of rain, but did you get enough in the mountains, do you think? Is it going to fill the reservoirs? Going to be okay for water supply this summer? I hope that's true. I'll keep my fingers crossed. And that low pressure spike, I don't know. That maybe one of those Chinese balloons flew over Port Angeles and is sucking up all the information and everything they could possibly suck up. Just a thought. Jessica, Saturn behind you, pretty. Taxes, ugly. But thanks for the reminder. I need to get started on that too. I think I've got all the paperwork I need, but I need to double check. I've been busy this past week. Let's see. Yeah, on the 1.2 downlink now, I've got only black and white tonight for some reason. But Bob, I noticed last time I had you in color, and on a computer, your green screen looks green, but on the 1.2 downlink, your green screen looked blue. I just thought that was interesting. But you looked okay. You weren't any strange colors, so I don't know. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
7QO, let's go to James in Bellevue. WU7N.
Well, thank you, Dave. WU7N. You know, Jim, knowing you personally, I've never seen you fly before, but I'm really surprised you never killed anybody either. I mean, had someone. What I meant to say was have someone die in your flight. No, I'm sorry, Ron, that happened to your relative. I shouldn't make light of it. I guess I could also add, you always pass on the T in the styrofoam cup if you're on the Russian national airline. Definitely want to do that. Excellent picture on 1.2 gigahertz tonight, and Jim, you are correct. There's a color shift. I've noticed this from day one. Right now, like as I look at you on a digital screen, you have a much lighter tone, and then on the 1.2, when I look at that screen, you are much pink, more pink. So yeah, there's a little bit of a color shift, but I've even noticed that with some standard colors on the back of some ink cartridges I've had. Okay, so Jessica and David, did you get your paperwork? Dave, thank you very much for the frequency list, too. That was very interesting. Appreciate that. Let's see. The barometer information. Lee, that is very interesting. That is quite a steep drop and a dramatic drop for such a short period of time. I guess we're supposed to be forecast for snow Monday night, which is kind of surprising. And then Tuesday night and Wednesday night, I think they're also forecasting hard freeze if anyone can predict weather in the Pacific Northwest beyond 2 days. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes about. Lee, I'm sorry you were the only person at the restaurant. I was going to ask you, did you have the right restaurant? But I'm assuming they probably have it at the same restaurant every time. That is just odd, because you had a pretty active group before, didn't you? I mean, you had like lots of people show up to breakfast. So that, to me, is an interesting man on the street indicator. What, everybody's not used to, going out again yet, or what's going on there? So anyway, well, that's all the hot news that is news here. I got one more thing next time around. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue with the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Let's turn it back to Dave, KD7ZYM, Arnet Control.
7N, thanks for joining the net and the rest of you out there that have joined this evening. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. I've got 41 degrees, and it's kind of cloudy. Every once in a while you can see a star up in the sky, but most of it's covered with clouds. And for me today was resetting 3 atomic clocks by putting fresh batteries in. They had all decided to not give out numbers. So I got that done, and then also I had a power outage last week, and I had 2 other regular clocks that I had to reset the time on those. So it was a timing day for me today. And let's see, I got a meeting with my tax man this coming Wednesday. So probably about 10 years ago, I just gave up trying to do taxes myself. They were just too complex. When you have several forms to have to fill out, I just decided to go to a pro and let them have the headache and not me. Although they are rewarded very well financially for doing their services. So anyway, such is life. Pay the piper, sit back and enjoy the day. So that's pretty much what's happening with me. And time to get an ID out again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go back up to the top to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks, Dave. KD7QKU here again. Well, Jim, N7QO, my son still lives here. It was my grandson that sold his house in Auburn. He's married and they have 3 children. He's about 34. And he moved to Texas. He wants to start a business down there. He has a business here and he wants to start another one down there. So that's what they did. And let's see, Dave was talking about income tax, and that makes me wonder, did they ever decide if we have to show that stimulus checks that we got as income? What was the decision on that? Does anyone know? Because I guess we're all faced with that decision. I suppose tax people will know. And Lee, I got up this morning kind of early. I always get about 6:30 or before, and it was blue sky and the sun was coming up in the east, and it was really pretty. And I checked my temperature when you checked yours, and I had 39 degrees. And you were talking about water and the rainfall. I think Port Angeles better start drilling some wells if they don't already. I think there could be in another one of those situations again. And let's see. Oh, I guess everybody knows that they shot down the 3rd Chinese balloon today over Alaska and Canada. There was a 3rd one. So they've shot down 3 now. 2 in the last day. So what else is going on? Yeah, I talked about the stimulus check. So I went out. I had a little logbook, and I had a little logbook for Echolink. I used to use Echolink a lot. I had a lot of fun on Echolink. There was a group of guys I talked to at night. There was probably 10 of them. 1 or 2 in England, a couple in Canada, one in one way up north by, Whitehorse or someplace in the Northwest Territory, and then one in Eastern Washington, and one in Florida, and then one in Medford, Oregon. And we all would get on Echolink about 10 o'clock at night, and we'd sit there and just like on this net, chew the fat and tell what was going on in our lives. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, I kept track of that, and then of course, as things do, you move on to other things and you don't do it anymore. So, but at the same time, I had a little logbook, and it was about 6 meters and 10 meters, and then it was about all the local Washington nets on 40 and 80 meters and stuff, and even a couple of nets on 20 meters. And I had all that information in these 2 little notebooks, and since I moved, I can't find those 2 little notebooks. Today I went out to the storage shed, taken down just about every box out there and opened up and looked in, no little notebooks, so I don't know. Then I decided that I needed to go start the pickup. I don't drive the pickup very often anymore, and so I've been trying to start it every couple of weeks or month. I guess it's been about a month. I went out, turned the key, and it went, So I got the extension cord and a battery charger and hooked it up for a couple hours, then I went out and I started it. Ran it till it got nice and warm, and then hooked the battery charger back up, and I don't know. I was telling Dave earlier, I think it's a 2006 pickup, and I think I've only replaced the battery in it once. So I don't know how long the first one lasted, but this battery could be 10 years old. I mean, the truck's getting pretty old now. So I suppose there's a new battery in my life in that truck pretty soon. So anyway, that's kind of what I did today. So let's see, I forget what Jessica was talking about. Jessica had her microphone on. I had to turn my radio sound down so I could listen to her on the computer microphones. But anyway, no big deal, no problem. Okay, I guess back to net before I time out the repeater. KD7QKU.
Thanks for that. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
First of all, the pressure drop that Lee recorded, when I drive buses, I'm out in the weather a lot, even though I might be inside looking out windows. There's sometimes when you hit the really windy days or the rainy days or the misty days, and it's always interesting to see. And you wonder. A couple days ago, it was really windy up in Anacortes when I was doing an Anacortes run up there, and I wonder what day that actually was. Very, very cool, though. Very neat to see that kind of stuff. Let's see. I've seen some really great pictures of Bert on his cruise on Facebook, doing a bunch of selfies, which I think is funny. I don't do selfies. I'm not a good selfie picture taker. If I take a picture of a selfie, I quickly delete it because it looks so goofy. But he looks fine in them. And then talking about people moving to chase work around, I finally, got up enough courage to move down towards Kent, when I had our Tequila place, because it was close to Kent. And as soon as I bought that house and moved in down there, a year later, that shop closed down, and they sent us all running to places like Everett. so yeah, that was a bad move for me. And then deaths and cruises. Something I've often talked about. Maybe when we get really, really old in our final years, maybe we'll just go take long, 60-day, 90-day cruises, and let the cruise line take care of us. And the visual behind me here, it's from a program I think it's called Celestia, I think it is, and it's a really great program. It's fun to put stuff in there and get the right angle that you want to look at it at, and set the speed so you can see things moving. And Jupiter, this is Saturn, but Jupiter right now is up to 92 moons. They just found 12 more, so Jupiter's up to 92 moons. I think that's fascinating. I wish I could go out there and take a closer look. Up in Everett, this is KF7 News.
KF7UHK, thanks with that. Let's go to Lee, N7KC.
Okay, we're going to try it again in 7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. A shout out to Richard. Yeah, Richard, if you're listening, best to you. Now, that third object that was shot down, I listened to the Canadian Defense Minister today on TV talk about that, and it turns out that it was not. It was a cylinder. It was a cylinder. I don't know. Testing. Am I in now? Anyway, it wasn't a balloon. It was a cylinder. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be ironic if this was first contact of aliens to the U.S. and they come down in a cylinder and we shoot them down? Now, the thing that's interesting is that the cylinder must have been moving around, and it sounded like it was a metallic cylinder. And the RCMP and the Canadian NORAD and some people like that are up there someplace in the frozen north, guarding that debris that came down. But I hope that there wasn't a green-eyed creature in there with multiple arms or something that was here on a peace trip and we shot it down. We might, oh well. Now this was quite a week for me. I had a crown prep. Last week I had a root canal finish. This week I had a crown prep. And then I also went to the dermatologist and had a big thing carved out of my elbow. I had the biopsy a couple of weeks ago, and it came back and said that it was something that needed to come out. doesn't have doesn't have deep roots. They said most of them don't, and they wanted to take it out. So they did, right in the office. And so I got 14 stitches, 7 deep, 7 shallow, and so forth. I have to go in next Wednesday and get the outside stitches out, but the others will dissolve. Other than that, next time around I'll show you pictures. It's WKC, Lee in Port Angeles. Back to you, Dave.
7KC, thanks for that. And we're going to get an ID out here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, net on the 08 machine. Again, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go to Bob in Bothell, K9PQ.
Well, I have taken some notes today, or this time, this round. Yeah, Lee, that low pressure, my theory is, similar to Jim's, that it was indeed a Chinese balloon, but it was jamming your signal. It was jamming your signal and giving a false reading. So that's what I think is going on. Yeah, Jim, about going out post-COVID, I mean, it seems to me a lot of people are. I'm not that much, but a lot of people are. The movie theaters are filling up again, the malls are filling up again, and people are not wearing masks at the grocery store when I go. I'm one of the very few that do that. I had not heard about this third balloon going down, and apparently that was the one that was the cylinder. That's interesting to me. I think it was on YouTube, but somebody I listened to on YouTube was talking about the Chinese. This is a concerted effort of theirs to control or occupy, let's say, a space that's sort of in between. You know, we've got spy planes that go up to a very high altitudes. We've got satellites, low orbit satellites, but there's a very large altitude in between that's just not occupied by anything. And the Chinese have discussed this in the past, that they want to be active there, and that this, according to this one person, this is completely expected. That this is something they've been planning to do, and it's not a surprise that they're actually doing it. So Jessica, yeah, the selfie, I'm kind of the same way with selfies, but even more so with my voice. You know, listening to your own voice, it's weird. And I just did it recently because after adjusting the volume, I wanted to listen to my voice, or listen to our net on YouTube, now that we have good audio coming out there. And yeah, it's always weird to hear your own voice if you don't do it regularly. Let me break. Long one this time. Retiring and going on cruises. I read one story of people that were so into cruises and had set up their finances in such a way that they retired to be permanently on a cruise. They were just, going to be on cruise ships for the rest of their lives, and they had worked it out with their retirement. And I don't know if they have points plans on cruises like they do with airlines. Maybe Bert could tell us when he comes back, but somehow they'd worked it out that they were able to afford doing that. And when you look at some of the alternatives, retirement homes, things like that, they can be pretty expensive. So for them, it worked out. And Jupiter, yeah, with 92 moons, that's just crazy. That is just crazy to me. The moons, and it's really cool that they're still finding them. It's one of the things I love about astronomy, is that they're always discovering new things, and they're discovering new things that don't make sense, and they have to rework their theories about what's going on. That just happened recently. I'll see if I can remember the story for the next time around, but I love that about astronomy. It really is a frontier where we're still discovering all kinds of new things. Back to that, K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Ron, the stimulus checks, I don't know for sure. I remember when I did the taxes a year ago, there was some sort of accounting. I guess if you did not get one, then you could take a deduction from your taxes, or I think what they did is they added it to my refund from the IRS. But every year somehow things change, so have to double check what's going on this year. And I certainly have not looked at all for this year. Lee, cylinder. Yeah, I heard that same thing, and I had the same sort of distress which you did. Not long ago, there appeared on television a video of what they referred to as a Tic Tac, and I was thinking, that might be some little gray guy in there or something. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're friendly, but oh man, I don't know. Well, Lee, I feel for you with the dentist and all these other problems. Dermatologist. I recently visited an oral surgeon myself. I never had a tooth pulled, but this time they pulled 3. Now, honestly, I have deferred some things as a consequence of the pandemic, and also because I had other things going on in life. But I had one wisdom tooth which was partially impacted, and it developed a cavity, so they made it go bye-bye, and they're not going to do anything to replace it. And then I had 2 teeth, both of which had crowns. One broke about a year ago, and I just thought I'd wait on it. The other one broke maybe about 2 years ago, so there was not enough tooth material on either of those to do another crown. So they pulled those, and they're doing implants on those 2 teeth. But in the meanwhile, I'm definitely having some trouble chewing and sometimes even speaking. Sometimes my tongue goes where I don't want it to go, and it's not feeling real good. But c'est la vie. Reset. And I'm still occasionally finding a little teeny tiny bone fragment that comes, I don't know where, but so he drilled two holes in my jawbone to do the implants, and it's a little teeny tiny piece, but it's bone. Oh well. Bob and Jessica, yeah, retiring on a cruise ship. I read something about that, people doing that. I've read about people actually selling their real estate and just living on a cruise ship. They've got, I guess, everything they need. They maybe go places where hopefully they want to go, and yeah, unlimited food, yeah, a place to sleep. I don't know. Maybe we could do that to the homeless people, just kind of put them out there over the water. That might actually eliminate a lot of crime. I don't know, just a thought. And let's see. Astronomy. Interesting. I saw something on the internet just within the past day or two. Someone came up with this idea that, or a theory, I guess you'd call it, that we are living inside a black hole somehow. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but then astronomy is not exactly a strong point with me. So anyway, whoever said it, I think Bob, yeah, absolutely, they're discovering something every day. And it's not only that the moons multiply like rabbits, but Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's go to Bellevue to James, WU7N.
This is James, WU7N, and your concerns are all justified about what the cylinder was and was there a horrible mistake made. But I have a highly sensitive intelligence photograph I'd like to share with you guys. And see if it comes through here. I know the origin of the cylinder. I got this from a sensitive source, and it's sad, and he'll be missed. But there is proof right there. It's right in front of your eyes of where the cylinder came from. Enough said about that. I mean, that kind of closes the book on that one, doesn't it? Dave, your atomic clock setting. I have a clock. If I could figure out how to somehow change one of your clocks with this atomic clock just to see you be driven crazy. It's very accurate, but it's got a software error that makes it exactly 1 second slow. It gets the low wave signal, and if you listen to WWV and you listen to the shortwave signal coming through, it just goes beep, and it took me a while to figure this out because your brain wants it to go beep right at the correct time, right? But it would always be like, wait, nope, that's not quite right. Oh no, I must be doing something wrong here. But I finally figured out there's a software bug in one of the early atomic clocks that I actually got out of an estate situation. So, it was version 1 of the software. Anyway, also, congratulations on everyone who has complex taxes. That's my financial goal of 2023, is to have to hire an accountant, preferably a tax attorney, but not a bail bondsman. That's my 3-step goal for year 2023 for my taxes. Don't know if I'm going to make that or not. Sadly, I think I can probably use Free File this year. Tells you a lot about how my year went. Jessica, okay, the big question of those 92 moons, how many have an atmosphere? Okay, that's really what I'd like to know. It sounds like, if you had 92 moons and even a third of them had atmosphere of any kind, now you've got really something to think about, don't you? Jim, as far as existing inside a black hole, what they're referring to is the corporation I worked at for two decades. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about us as a whole. They're talking about individual job and career situations. Anyway, that's I think what they're talking about when they say we all exist inside a black hole. You have to work for corporate America to understand that analysis. It sounds horrible. I'm glad you're okay. No deep roots. I don't know. Did the doctor suggest watering and fertilizing next time? I don't know. That just sounds awful. Deep stitches, top stitches. My goodness, you and Jim's dental work. I'm hurting all over. Oh no, we got a picture here. Well, at least it's not right exactly on the elbow, isn't it? That still looks like it's a fairly horrible place. That would definitely interfere with your push-up routine. At least it would mine. Anyway, I hope it heals quickly, and I'm glad it all, sort of came out okay, so to speak. We said enough. This is James, WU7N, Northeast Bellevue. Let's turn it back to Dave, KD7ZYM.
U7N, James, thanks for that. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. And on the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Oh my, listening to those stimulus checks were put out in 2021, so they were reported on last year's taxes, not this year's taxes. Unless you got a business stimulus check in the last year, those would be the only checks you'd have to declare this year's. My knowledge goes on. And for those floating items up in the North Slope area, I noticed that one balloon was near Point Barrow, which is on the North Slope, so I just wondered if it could have actually been a weather balloon. But the cylinder, metallic, was kind of a thing that scratched my head a little bit. The Russians are operating up there in the North Pole, and maybe they're trying something where they're bouncing something off a metallic cylinder for reconnaissance purposes. Who knows? I'm sure they didn't call our State Department to say that they had a balloon up in the area. So that was kind of interesting. And I also read that article about retiring on a cruise ship, and the stats I got was for two people, it cost you $90 a day. That took care of all of your living expenses and fees and taxes. So that was pretty cheap for two people. So extended out through the year, probably would be cheaper than paying taxes and a mortgage on your house if you did that. But there'd probably be those periods where between different ships that go out, that there might be a 3-week or a 2-week holdover that you'd have to have some type of an apartment somewhere on the land side while you were waiting for another cruise ship. But that was very interesting. So that's about it. This is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks, Dave. KD7QKU here again. Well, I didn't hear that it was a metallic cylinder. That's really interesting. So I looked up on my phone here about the cases of COVID in Pierce County. It said over the last week, Pierce County, Washington had 811 new reported cases. 811. Here, I thought, that's a lot, I think. Anyway, it said it's 89.3% of every 100,000 of the population. Well, I didn't look at the last time to see how many cases they had. It was 118 per 100,000. So it's down from what it was a week or two ago. And it says those reported cases don't include at-home positive tests that aren't reported. So people that have it at home test positive and don't report it, they're not included in that. But 811 in the last week, that's a lot of people. So I guess I'm not going to rush right out and start going to restaurants and movie theaters and stuff right now. That kind of shoots down my balloon. So let's see. My big news is, I guess, I bought a new vacuum cleaner. So I don't know if you can see that or not. It's a Ryobi. So we had a little Black & Decker that was cordless, and it was only a couple years old, and it wouldn't hold a charge. I'd keep it plugged in all night and then go to use it, and it would run a second or two, and then it would quit. Shut it off, wait a second, turn it on, run a second or two, and quit. So I decided it was time to buy something else, and I bought a Ryobi because I have batteries, and they fit into everything, and so it came without a battery. Battery was like $35 or something. So I have 3 batteries, so I decided I didn't need one. 2 chargers and 3 batteries, so I just plugged my battery in it, and it runs fine, and I think it'll certainly last longer than the battery in the Black & Decker. So that was a wasted $30 or $40, whatever we paid for that. It only lasted 2 or 3 years, and then it quit. So, let me see, what else was I thinking about? I guess that's it. So, what time is it? Back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, let's go to Everett, Jessica, KF7UHK.
There in Alaska land, somewhere up there, don't they still have that HAARP system, HAARP, which is this is a representation, maybe partially a picture of such an antenna field, and there's videos you can find fairly readily of their HAARP system, and I wonder if they're doing anything at all. If you listen to Art Bell, it was always interesting, and Art Bell was quite the character. He finally passed on, but he was out of somewhere in Colorado that he had a show from. You listened to him on AM radio through the night, and if you couldn't sleep, Art Bell was the guy to listen to. And my favorite was when he had people who said they were the devil calling in on the devil call-in line, and people would call in and try to convince him that they were the devil, and it was just a scream. It was just precious. I don't have much more. The big game is tomorrow, and I'm not a big sports fan, but I'm gonna watch anyhow because it's the big one of the year, and we have a nice big TV to watch it on, so it should be fun to watch. And on a big TV, it's kind of nice because they use those nice slow motion views of everything, and you can really see what they're doing. Back in the old days with the little 20-inch TV, it wasn't as fun as the big 75-incher. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. KF7 UHK.
UHK, yes, size does matter. Let's go to Lee, N7KC.
Okay, try her again here, N7KC, Lee, NPA. Okay, good. Well, you know what? The Canadian Defense Minister described it as a cylinder. She didn't say it was a flattened cylinder. But anyway, what do you suppose is holding that thing up in the air? Because it had been up there for a day or two, you know. They didn't describe any balloon or any kind of a mechanism that was holding it up. It was just a cylinder. That's what gave me food for thought there, that maybe we shouldn't have monkeyed with that one. I don't know. Okay. We also, the local club had their first in-person meeting last Wednesday night. I gave the program, and it's a pretty good turnout, we thought, and it was really quite a lot of fun. And so I hope we all slipped through that real well. I can't quote what the numbers are per 100,000 here in Port Angeles, but I think it's way down. Anyway, but then, of course, I didn't have to worry about catching anything at breakfast this morning. I just came home. I don't like the restaurant anyway. I've never had a meal there. And so I waited around for an hour, and nobody came. So I thought, well, phew, I'm not paying for breakfast here. I've never had a good one, so I just came home. Had some good scrambled eggs and hash browns at home. Let's see. Just real quickly here, just to say that I did show a picture. This is when I wanted to put the bell up in the yoke here. And here's my Hoyer lift, which I turned around. So I turned the column around, extended the boom up here with a stainless steel pipe, and then I counterbalanced it with buckets of water and back here to so that it wouldn't fall over and so forth. And I was able to pick that bell up and set it up there in that cradle without any issue whatsoever. I don't know if, whoops, there's my water pressure. Doggone. I don't know. Oh, there it is. So here's another view of it. I had to get this. I had to get these bearings here on the yoke up into the upright here on that, and so that was my scheme to do that. And it worked out just fine. I did it all by myself, and I couldn't possibly got that up there without some mechanical assistance. Another view of it here, how I did it, so forth. This is when we still had a boat. You see over here. Yeah. Oh, I'm out of time. Oh, I can show you. This is my 40-meter folded dipole here, and there's the feed line going up to the 20-meter one. And come March, come next month on the 13th, they're coming. The tree climbers are coming to put 2 pulleys up for my 80-meter folded dipole that's in a line. Kind of. It's going to be really fun. Okay, back to you, Dave. N7KC.
N7KC, thanks with that. Well, let's go on to Bob, K9PQ in Mottle.
I'm actually transmitting. I have a few notes, and this is a good example. I'm finding I'm respecting more and more the job that Richard does on a weekly basis, because trying to do this, I tend to forget things, but I was able to get a few notes. The thing that I just saw that's having scientists have to re-examine the theory is a dwarf planet called Quaoar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's a dwarf planet outside of Neptune in our solar system, and it has a ring around it, like Saturn's rings and the others have rings. But this ring is larger than it should be according to the theory that they have of ring formation. It shouldn't have a ring with this large radius. It would break down. They would clump together and form little moonlets, is according to their theory. So this is causing scientists to have to re-examine all of that. Atomic clocks. So we all know that our atomic clocks that we call atomic clocks aren't really atomic clocks. They are receiving radio signals from WW7, the atomic clock there. Well, I have a memory from going back to probably the 80s, maybe even probably the 70s actually. My dad brought home an HP catalog for, sort of the professional stuff. This back then, that's outside of a few calculators. It was all professional stuff, and you could buy an atomic clock from HP for some tens of thousands of dollars. And I asked my dad about that. He said, "Oh yeah, they use them because." And I asked about WWV. He said it's not a stable enough time base because as the signal is bouncing off the ionosphere, that can change altitude, and so your timing will change by a very small amount. So if you have extremely precise needs for a time base, you really need to get your own atomic clock, which then from that point on I felt I needed to have my own atomic clock. Never did get one. Yeah, the cylinder, I assumed when we were talking about the cylinder that the cylinder itself was the balloon. You normally wouldn't make a balloon in a cylindrical shape. It's not as efficient as a sphere, but that was what I was assuming. And very cool to see your pictures of the bell. Man, oh man, I remember when you were putting it up, and it's cool to see those pictures. So, okay, back to net, K9PQ.
9PQ, let's go to Jim in 7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see. Dave, thank you for mentioning $90 per day for 2 people. That's like, holy cow. My wife and I, just between our Social Security checks, we could easily manage that. And plus put some money in the bank. That's pretty good. Let's see. Ron, that vacuum looks pretty cool. I used to have a dust buster way back when, and I don't know, it kind of worked only moderately well, I would say, but I did have some problems with the battery life as well. So that one looks good. Congratulations on that. Lee, that bell mounted, that looks really cool. Yeah, thanks for showing those pictures. And tree climbers. Yeah, I had someone come out, and I don't have a place where I can put an antenna between 2 trees, but I had someone that I hired to climb a tree and get a wire up as high as he could, and at the point in time, he could only get the thing a little bit better than 50 feet off the ground. So I have a random wire coming from that tree, and that actually works fairly well, particularly for transmit. And then I have a tuner, an SGC tuner that I use to use that on pretty much all bands. However, the feed line to that broke, so I need to go up. It's where I could reach it with a step ladder. I just have to go out and do it. But it's been way too cold for this boy to go out there and fix on that. So maybe come spring or so. Reset. And let's see. Bob, yeah, I read something about those rings as well. And I would say their understanding of the rings is wrong, or something is not quite right there. But yeah, we're learning new things every day, and with the Webb telescope, that's really opening people's eyes, sort of, even literally speaking. That's great, but I think it's going to pique everyone's interest in astronomy as the time goes by. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
QO, and it's time to sign off the net on the 08 machine. I'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 14708. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, terminating the net. Good evening, all.
KC disconnected.